Oh my goodness. Hi. I am clearly just figuring out how to manage my YouTube Live for the first time. It's throwing me off because my screen is reversed. If you are here already, it says that there are four of you. I would love to say hi in the chat. Let me know who is here. How did you find me? Are you my friend in real life? If so, hi, I love you. Are you an Instagram compadre? If so, hi, I love you. Are you a new person in my world? Maybe you just found me from this YouTube event. If so, hi, it's nice to meet you. I also love you, which is pretty cool. I am Elizabeth, and I am here to talk about the new moon in Pisces just briefly, and then I'm going to get into the tarot. Oh, Myri, hi, my angel. And then I'm going to get into the tarot. And the way that I figured, Amy, hi. Oh, yeah, these people that I know in my real life supporting me means everything. I'm going to get into the tarot and going to just pull cards for whoever wants to put yourself in the chat. Jennifer, hello. Hi, beauty. Put yourself in the chat. Virtually like raise your hand. I don't know. There is also a way to like bring people up. Susan, hi. Wow. So I guess the count isn't even right because it says there's only three people here. So that's interesting. Let me see if I can see. Oh no, wait. There we go. Okay, cool. So let me talk briefly about the new moon in Pisces, and then we're going to get into it. New moon in Pisces. Uh, the new moon is a beautiful time to set intentions. And this is the last lunation before we get into eclipse season. And so that is kind of bananas because when eclipse season hits, we pull back from all of our trying to like micromanage our manifestation. We pull back from mm, trying to force and control and manipulate our way into the life that we want. And we come into an intentional allowance, letting the universe, the spirit guides, take the reins during eclipse season, trusting that whatever happens during eclipse season is ultimately for our highest good. And so this last lunation before eclipse season starts in a couple of weeks is a very potent magical portal to be setting your intentions, especially because it is uh, a new moon in Pisces, and Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac before the astrological new year and is really the sign of surrender and coming into collective oneness, coming into the fertile void. We think about Pisces being the sign of intuition, spirituality, and dreams. It is ruled by Jupiter, it is ruled by Neptune. And so Jupiter is the planet of expansion and bigness, and Neptune is the planet of dreams. So Pisces season is really a time to let your mind just like fantasize. The fantasy, the fantasy is the place to be right now. And so as we sit in this spiritual amniotic fluid, it can be a little bit uncomfortable because as many of you live in this Western society, I think everybody here, because I know you all personally, we're all living in the United States and we are all acculturated to doing, to prioritizing action over stillness. And Pisces season is here to force us to pump the brakes a little bit. And so, if there are specific things that you are thinking about that you could use some support on, I'm going to just wait and see what happens in the chat. See if people are willing to volunteer your questions or topics or things that are on your heart that you could use some guidance for, and then I will start to pull cards. And I'll give everybody a minute or two to get comfortable and get to typing. And actually, what I'll do is drop into a little bit of a meditation while you all collect yourselves. This is a safe and holy space for divine transmission and transformation. If you would like to join me by closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, you're welcome to do so. I am riding high off of a previous 2 hour session that I just completed, and so my energy is very up, up, up right now. And I want to intentionally ground into this space with all of you. Just so that there is a little bit of balance. The Piscean way of operating in that ethereal up, up, up sort of space is a really beautiful and lovely space to be. And so I'm hoping that I'm trusting that wherever you are in your day, that you can feel a little bit of the love and the intention that we are setting in community together here. Let's take one more deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I would love to open up the chat, open up the space for anybody who has specific questions for the tarot. And while we do that, I'm going to pull just a card for the collective. But please do not be shy about putting your stuff in the chat. Okay, Jennifer, great. You're going to be right after us, our collective pull. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing with us. So for the collective, for anybody who is here now and anybody who is watching on the recording, what is the energy or the message that would be most beneficial for us to hear to support us during this Pisces new moon and Pisces season in general? Okay, and it is the Four of Cups. Four of Cups. Four of Cups. And often, well, let me say it like this. Cups are a suit of emotions associated with water, and Pisces is a water sign. And so it's very apropos that we would be redirected to focus our attention on our emotions. The four is normally a card of balance. You can think about like the foundations of a house having four equal corners and being really stable. But what's interesting is that the Four of Cups is often a reminder to pay attention to where your energy and attention and focus is. You can see in this photo there are 3 cups turned up and 1 card that was it already on the rose? Is he covering up the rose? Like it's open to interpretation. But often when I see this card, I'm like, oh, I imagine that the rose was being covered, and so he could not see it. And it is that a reminder that often we miss the goodness that is right in front of us because we have our focus pulled, our attention pulled, and that pulling of the attention, that distraction prevents us from having that emotional fullness, stability, peace that is available to us. And there is this interesting little crack. It's so confusing with the mirror being turned. There is this interesting little crack in the universe where this eye is watching. And for this new moon, I looked at the moon in this photo and got confused. For this new moon in Pisces, it's a lovely reminder that there is more to this life than what we can see. There is a team of guides and angels and ancestors and protectors who are available to tap in and to support you in either the redirection of your attention or simply just like getting through the day to day of the season. And so to remember that you are part of a collective whole, you are not alone in your endeavors, and that you have access to redirect your attention and remember that you are a part of a larger, greater whole with your intention. And so we will close that as a collective reading. And I'm so excited because I can see other people also putting in their questions for tarot. And so, Jennifer, my brave first beauty, your question is, how can I grow my online business while balancing my day job? How can I grow my online business while balancing my day job? And I'm just connecting our intention, connecting our energy now, Jennifer, and dropping into your current way of being. And so the question that I want to pose to the cards is like, what information is most helpful for Jennifer in order to balance the day job and the online business? Okay, we have a pretty clear answer, which I love. We have the King of Wands. Wands are a sign of passion, of inspiration, of going and doing and being, but from this place of energy. It's like a really inspired and active sign. If you think about the way that fire spreads, it like needs very little in order to just go. And the king is the one who has excellent control, excellent understanding, excellent um, relationship to his power. And so this card is often a reminder, Jennifer, that number one, we need to follow our inspiration, trust our inspiration, remember that our inspiration is the thing that is going to help us grow. And you talk about, oh yeah, you literally said grow my online business. To just faith that the things that are alive, things that you are inspired by, are the things that eventually your audience is going to resonate with. And so to pull back, focus. I wish I still had that Four of Cups card. Pull back the focus a little bit from any metrics or any like immediate results, because Pisces is also about long-term plans. It's not necessarily a season where rapid changes are going to be made, but understanding that what you are doing now by following your inspiration is like planting seeds and building and investing in the future of your online business. And if the question, if there is a concern about exhaustion or energy depletion or being able to like physically manage both the day job and the online business, it might be a question of boundaries, right? It might be a question of having like a realistic, maybe not even realistic, I don't love that word, maybe like a grounded perspective on how much do I actually need to be emotionally, mentally, physically expending in my day job? Is there, I know for me, when I also was working my 9 to 5, I would find myself over investing, overdoing constantly the work of my 9 to 5, and then my online business was like just getting my energy scraps. And I had to continuously recenter my focus and remind myself, like, and it's not a simple, not just like a one-time thing. Constantly come back to remembering my heart is on fire for my online business, and so that is where I'm going to follow my inspiration and invest the bulk of my energy. And so, Jennifer, if you're, I'm assuming, still here, if you want to respond in the chat and just let me know that number one you heard, and number two, if you have any like follow-ups or extra feedback that you think would be helpful, feel free to send it. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to Myri. Myri, your comment says, I'm looking for some guidance in my business. I feel like I have so many different things of interest and would love to lean in and focus on what's most important right now. Okay. Let me just like sit with that for a second. I'm looking for some guidance in my business. I feel like I have so many things of interest and would love to lean in and focus on what's most important right now. Okay. So the question I'm going to pose to the cards for you, Myri, is, I just had it. How can Myri access greater clarity about what to prioritize in this season of her life? How can Myri access greater clarity in order to prioritize what is most important in her life? Oh, good, Jennifer. I'm glad you're still here and was able to respond. Okay, Myri. Oh, it's pretty funny. So we have the Five of Wands, and you can see the Five of Wands is a little bit of a tangled mess. Wands, as we talked about with Jennifer, it's funny, both of you are getting fire energy during Pisces season. Wands are a sign of fire, a sign again of inspiration, of action, and of like following your heart. And we can see in this image that the wands in this person's head are like sort of a tangled mess. And often this card is interpreted as a sign of overthinking and like prioritizing your logical mind and what is capable of being untangled from your mind. And while you can like see even this person's like in deep concentration, they're like very focused on what's happening up there. And I agree. This might be a case of you, Myri, needing to come out of your head and into your heart. And that is also what Pisces season is perfect for. Venus, the planet of love and wants and desires, is really at home in Pisces, and their energy is like very connected. And Venus is about to go retrograde starting tomorrow, March 1st. And so this is a perfect time to turn back to your heart, to spend intentional time, maybe in meditation, but maybe also just in play, to see what it is that is lighting you up in your life. And to, when I think about the word most important, that's like a judgment call that our mind makes often, but to instead look to the wisdom of the heart to define most important. And what is also cool about this card is that the wands are also tools. Like you can kind of see it's like a flower staff and a bug staff and a bone staff. And so not only are they potential, not even causes of grief, but just like tools that can be used to experience greater stress. They are also things for you to wield, powers, mm, blessings, benefits. There is the balance in the fact that maybe you have all of these things percolating and ideating, and it is a decision of the heart to decide when they are going to be best utilized. And it's actually not that anything needs to be, maybe you might want to like do away with one or two of the ideas, but you might just want to hold on and like pause on it for a minute with some of them. And to remember that it is a blessing to have so many inspirations and tools at your, what's it called, at your hands, like available to you at your, there's a word that I can't remember. And so this is also like a blessing, the card that you have all of this inspiration and all of this excitement. And the truth is that I don't necessarily even believe that there's, yeah, within your arm's reach, exactly. I don't even believe that there's only like one way forward. And so it is the idea of most important is also something that can be like put to the side for a little bit because there are infinite paths forward. And so as long as you are following your heart and following your inspiration and staying true to like what is alive for you here, it's like eventually you're going to get where you want to go. And the path there can take a million different turns and swerves, but if you are at peace along the journey, then it doesn't really matter which route you took. And so I hope that provide some resolution for you. And let me know if you have any follow-up questions in the chat. Okay, beautiful. I appreciate you as well. Yay, this is so fun. Hello, Nancy. Nice to meet you. I will come back when I finish Amy's reading and do a little download on the Venus retrograde. Nancy, if you have any specific questions that you'd like to propose to the tarot, feel free to put that in the chat. I'm going to drop in to Amy's energy, and then we'll come back to Venus retrograde. Okay, so Amy says, entering into an intense 2 weeks of energy work. Yeah, somatic intensive training while also so much happening in the collective. What can I bring in for support or a guide to navigate this time? Entering in an intense 2 weeks of energy work, somatic intensive training, while also so much happening in the collective. So what can I bring in for support or a guide to navigate this time? Okay. So the question that I'm going to put forth for you, Amy, is what can Amy turn to as a guide or support as they navigate an intense season of transformation? What can Amy turn to as a guide during an intense season of transformation? Okay. This is so silly. The cards do this. I swear they like have their own personality sometimes because I also pulled the King of Wands. I pulled it from the middle of the deck. It wasn't even on top. Okay, sometimes the card just like wants to keep cutting out. So I'll rehash a tiny bit of what I said to Jennifer, which is to follow your inspiration. I know Amy personally, and so I can say, Amy, I know that you have a lot of tools in your healing toolbox, and I know that there are things that are, as you even navigate this time of intense transformation, might like call out to your heart more prominently than others, and to just trust in that. That is the word that started to drop into my mind even before I was, or as I was pulling the cards and pondering on your question. We are in this Pisces season, which is a season that demands trust. Maybe not demands, that is an opportunity to work with trust in a greater way than you have ever worked with it before. Sometimes I describe Pisces season as like being in this amniotic fluid, as like we are waiting as babies. And now I'm having a flashback thinking, did I already say this? But kind of doesn't matter. Because the whole point is that we are in this state where we are in limbo, waiting for our exterior circumstances to prepare themselves for us while we prepare ourselves internally to be like a match for each other. And so, this idea of just trusting whatever guide or support or whatever it is that you might need, Amy. And I actually decided I'm going to pull one of my oracle cards. This is the Mother Witch deck that I really, really love. And all of these are like just badass female archetypes doing cool, brave stuff. And so it feels like actually we're going to see if there's an archetype for you to be inspired by and hold on to during this season of intense transformation. Okay. Okay. And the card is Divine Horizons. Divine Horizons. And I just want to like put it front and center for a second. It is a person sitting naked in front of a window. And there's all sorts of amazing imagery in these cards, which is part of the reason that I love them so much, is you could really spend a lot of time just looking at all of the detail and taking in all of the detail. And normally when I would do a reading live, I would prompt Amy to pick out and identify the imagery that is jumping out to her. But the thing that is jumping out to me is actually this little unicorn in the corner. Maybe it's just a horse, but maybe it's a unicorn that I envisioned. And the message that is coming through, this idea of like divine horizons, is the reassurance, the trust, the knowing, the groundedness that there are better things literally on the horizon, better things that are coming in, and that the sun will rise again, and that the allies that we need, like this cute little unicorn horse in the corner, are available to us whenever we call. And I'm going to just look in the book really quick, the guidebook that comes with these cards, to see if there's anything else. Yeah. Possibility, new beginnings, winds of change. Fresh energy is gathering, and new and wonderful things are on their way. Now is the time to prepare yourself with an open spirit. Hope is not naivety, it is the only way forward. Get up early one day soon and watch the sunrise. What new beginnings are you longing for? Set some intentions and feel them glowing and glowing brighter as the sun rays fill the day. And so the thing that I am taking away for you, Amy, and that I would invite you to experiment with is the support or the guide could honestly just be the sun, could honestly just be the feeling of hope, the reassurance that a new day is coming and that you are on the right path, and that optimism and hope, as my little Sagittarius babe, Amy, I know you feel it, is not naive, but is actually a superpower. And so, Amy, let me know how that lands. King of Wands going back in the tarot deck. We'll see if decides to make a third appearance. And that is wild. When I was at the last round of this training, one of the energy workers was seeing something with horses in my back and said to explore horses. So that is so cool to have it on the card. Yeah, I love it. It's just triple confirmation. Horses are something for you to explore and experiment with. Love you. Love you all, truly. Okay, Nancy. Hi, thank you for joining. We talked a little tiny bit about Venus retrograde. I essentially let everyone know that Venus retrograde is starting tomorrow, and essentially Venus spends 9 months out of the year as the morning star, and 9 months out of the year as the evening star. And so sometimes she makes her appearance in the morning, and sometimes she makes her appearance at night. And during Venus retrograde is when she begins to shift her position. So is when she shifts her position, and she tomorrow is beginning this 10-day essentially reversal when we won't see her in the sky at all because she is too close to the sun's rays. And retrogrades in general, especially for personal planets, the planets closer to us on the interior side of the astro belt, are a time of reflection and review. And so when we think about Venus retrograde, Venus rules things like money, like romance, like our desires and our wants and our sexuality, our sensuality, beauty, all of the things that we typically associate. And I don't love this language, so I don't really use it, but I will in this instance with like feminine identity. And so it is really a time, this Venus retrograde, especially the next 10 days from March 1st to March 10th, a time for us to reevaluate and get extremely clear on our relationship to money, our relationship to romance, our relationship to our own desires, because so often we clamp down or we don't feel capable of articulating, feeling, having desires. And as we have, I'm like, maybe the King of Wands is going to come back because he is somebody who is completely unashamed of the things that are alive for him on his heart. And so the fact that he has made himself known twice now in this reading is a good indicator that there are things in this collective, this group of people who are watching this recording or who are here live now, could use a bit of a reminder to remember that your desires are a gift from God. And this is a thing that I learned from one of my teachers. Their name is Ray Dohar. I'll put their name in the chat so you can investigate later. But Ray, for the longest time, has been teaching and reminding me that our desires are a gift. And so, and they're a gift because they are helping us to decide what it is that is most important in our lives. It's just like Myri was asking about. How do I know which direction to go? Well, you follow your heart. Well, what is your heart going to tell you? The things that you want. Well, what are the things that you want? Those are your desires. And so it is all connected back to this path of divinity and sovereignty and understanding that we are unique individuals with differing desires, and that it is important to get clear on what it is that we really want. And sometimes what can happen is that we are so bombarded by messaging from society, from TV, from family, from friends, from partners about what it is that we should want. Money, fame, 2 kids and a partner, and like the stories that are often told to us about how we should be living our lives really determine the things that internalize things that are okay to want. But what happens when your desires are not aligned with those things? can make you feel very alienated and very alone and very unsure of how to act and how to live life. And that's such a shame. That's such a disservice because the box that society tries to keep us in by limiting our desires is really not doing anyone any good. We are all invited to live creative, sensual, vibrant lives that have winding roads and unique journeys, but we will not get there if we are clamping down the things that are alive for us on our hearts. And so, with this Venus retrograde, I really implore you to identify, experiment, play with what it is that feels really good for you. What it is that feels really nourishing. Because there is also a version of this that gets a little bit hedonistic and a little bit prioritizes the self a little bit more than it prioritizes the collective. And it's like those two things we should try to keep in balance. And so, what feels nourishing to your spirit so that you can go and be of service and help other people find nourishment and help contribute also and serve back in a way that feels nourishing. And Aliza Kelly is another one of my teachers, and she just posted an amazing Substack article about Venus retrograde. And so if you have more, or if you're curious about more of the science and astrology behind Venus retrograde, I'm sure I'll post something, but she has a resource that is live already. And so check that out too. Yeah, what feels nourishing to your spirit? Good, Nancy. I'm glad that that was resonant for you. If you have a question for the tarot, please put it in the chat. I'm going to come back to Susan's question. Susan writes, this time of year is always busy. Is the busyness a distraction or helpful movement towards my dream/fantasy? Seeking where my path is as I feel far from it so. Any advice on how far from it I really am? Oh, Susan, bless you. Let me sink down into your energy a little bit, Susan. I'm going to read your question again. This time of year is always busy. Is the busyness a distraction or helpful movement towards my dream/fantasy? Seeking where my path is as I feel so far from it. Any advice on how far from it I really am? That question is so precious to me. How far away am I? Someone tell me. It really resonates with me because I'll tell you what, I did not feel like I was on my path until I was like 30, and I'm 33 now. I grew up so far from spirituality. I hated myself. My upbringing was Christian and judgmental and strict, and there was a lot of love, but I internalized a lot of judgment and a lot of hate, and I thought God hated me and I was bad, and I judged myself for everything. And so, number one, I just want to honor the feeling of being far or feeling like you are far from your path. And I want to just insert a little bit of optimism, even if you don't feel it in the moment. Know that you are always closer than you think. You are always closer than you think. Your guides are always closer than you think. and that actually your life can change for the better, and you can suddenly be back on your path in a matter of months, in a matter of weeks, honestly, in a moment sometimes. And I say this speaking from experience. When I get into a deep state of breath work, which is one of my like favorite tools and modalities, even if I start the session feeling full of rage or emotional or frustrated, or like my heart has been recalcified and it's hard again, and I often turn, I, I have a tendency towards anger, and so that is often how this like farness plays out in my own heart. But when I get into a deep state of presence and I remember and I allow my connection to spirit and to my guides to remember that I'm part of a bigger whole, there is this experience of being in presence and being in alignment and being just deeply connected that reminds me that it's like there is no such thing really as like being far from your path. This is just a, 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 a weird turn, a weird hook in the trail, but there's always the ability to like readjust your guidance system. And when you readjust your guidance system, here we go. When you readjust your guidance system and you start to take paths towards that thing, that place of nourishment of your heart, and you start taking steps, then you're on the path because you made the path. That's I think what I'm trying to communicate. There is no path. I can feel myself struggling with this. It's a lofty concept, and so let me turn to the cards and see if the cards can like offer some clarity. And what I will propose for you, Susan, for your prompting for the tarot is how to remember that the path is always available. Yeah, that's what I want to try. How to remember that the path is always available. I don't know what is going on with this card. I think I am going to just keep it out. I don't know. I pulled it from the middle of the deck again. I don't understand. Such big collective energy. Yeah, exactly, Amy. I am also like, what is happening? The King of Wands, ladies and gentlemen, the King of Wands wants to make his freaking presence known. And so, everybody, let's just say we acknowledge you, we love you, we hear you. Follow your inspiration. That is annoying because that is also the message. Follow the inspiration. Hi, we think. So we have now pulled this card for 3 separate individuals. And this card, wands are a suit of inspiration, of action, and of following your heart's desires. And the king is the one who has the greatest capacity, capability, and skill of, of using the wand. So this is a person who really knows how to follow their inspiration and take leaps of faith and act on what is alive for them in their heart. And so it's a beautiful reminder for somebody who maybe does feel far away from the path, that it's like all you have to do is take one small step, that is following your heart, as cheesy as it sounds, to have the sense of peace that comes from remembering that you are on the path. And I really wish I could like transplant the visual that is in my head, because in my head it is so clear that the path is always available to us. It literally is just the act of taking one small step in the direction towards your heart that puts you not even back on the path, but just that action creates the new path. Maybe that's the idea. Taking the one action creates a new path. So the urgency is not to get back to a place. It's not to get back to an old path. It is to remember that you always have the capability to create a new one. Susan, how does that feel? We are all showing up. We are all showing up. And we think, I will also say, if you have a question for the tarot, put it in the chat. I'm going to move to Sarabi, and you can let me know, and also in the chat if I am pronouncing your name incorrectly. I want to pronounce it correctly, so please let me know. I'm glad to have all of you here. Beautiful, you are here as well. And Sarabi, your question is around relationship status. Will I be in a relationship this year? When or where will I meet him? Okay, so thank you for putting in this question. Yeah, Susan, we can't ignore the King of Wands. He will not be ignored, and I respect that, to be honest. So, Sarabi, back to you. I do not practice like any kind of predictive tarot. I'm really glad that you posed this question, though, because what we can do is investigate your relationship to relationships, your relationship to love, your relationship and your openness, and whether or not maybe we can begin to identify any blocks that might be preventing you from meeting the next person who is going to nourish and cherish you. How does that sound? Hopefully good. So the question is not, will I be in a relationship? The question is, what blocks might be coming up that are preventing a relationship from happening? What blocks might be coming up that are preventing a relationship from happening? And this is for Sarabi. Okay, so we have the Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups. And the cups are a suit of emotions, of water, of our feelings, of the tide, of things that are like in flow. And the Queen, similar to the King, who I put on the side just for this reading, the Queen also has wonderful faculty. Is also very good at using the thing that they are associated with. And so in this case, the Queen is someone who has a pretty good handle on their emotions, has a pretty good handle on the flow of their life and following their intuition, because intuition is also deeply associated with cups, and intuition is deeply associated with Pisces season, which is where we are right now, astrologically. And we have the Pisces new moon, which you might have missed, but it's a new opportunity, our last opportunity before eclipse season starts in about 2 weeks, to set our intentions and to start to come up with manifestations. And so, Sarabi, if one of your desires in your heart is to be in a relationship, and we have prompted the tarot to show us any blocks that are preventing that, I would ask you, what is your relationship to your emotions, to your intuition, to the flow of your life? Are you somebody who feels deeply connected and at peace with the way that those things operate in your life? Or do you feel overwhelmed and underwater and maybe like you're drowning a little bit because of intense emotions or a lack of intuition or a lack of flow in your life? And I'm gonna take a sip of water and also share that for Sarabi, I would look up Aliza Kelly's article. I linked her, I wrote her name in the chat earlier, but I'm not sure how YouTube chat works. I think you'll be able to see. She has an article on Venus retrograde that just came out on Substack today. Okay. Thank you, Sarabi, for responding. Deeply connected. Okay. So I would also recommend reading Aliza Kelly's article on Venus retrograde because we are starting Venus retrograde tomorrow. And this is a deeply potent and powerful time to contemplate your emotions, especially around relationship, because Venus rules romantic partnership. And so definitely check out Aliza Kelly's article and understand, remember, Sarabi, that the more that you are able to mediate your emotions, the more that you are able to find peace and love and joy in yourself, the more that relationships will be magnetized to you. It is not that there is a specific place or a specific person that you need to be seeking out. The thing to be seeking out that this card is suggesting is wholeness, satisfaction, love towards your own self and your own life. And then there is no like relationship manipulation that is required. And if you feel like you have already been doing that, then just remember that Pisces season is a time of patience and that so many things are going to change in March when we move into the astrological new year. And so potentially this is just prompting you to have a little bit more patience and optimism and hope and trust. Okay. Okay, beautiful. Let's see, we have maybe 7 more minutes. You, 1082, hello. Thank you for joining us. If you have a question or prompt for the tarot, please put it into the chat. I think I've caught up on all the questions, so we have a little bit of time at the end now. And I guess I will show you all Myri's candle that she gifted me the other day after her astrology session. I will put her, well, she had her name somewhere, but made this fabulous intuition candles, and she makes them for all of the chakras. And so I meant to light it, and then I just forgot for this session. But I'm very excited to experiment with those. And I am an astrologer, a tarot reader, a breathwork facilitator, and an artist. And I live in New York. I have been doing this work for about 5 years now, and it is deeply, deeply personal, and I'm deeply, deeply passionate about it. And so I'm incredibly excited that this first YouTube live experiment is going so well. Thank you all for showing up and for participating and for putting your questions in the chat. I really, really I'm so deeply grateful. And if you would like to work with me one-on-one or even in a group setting, you can find me on Instagram at Eliza Gets Into It, my Substack, my website, obviously my YouTube channel, all of them available for your listening, learning, working pleasure. And that is really what it's all about. It's pleasure, especially during Pisces season, especially during this Pisces new moon, and especially before Venus retrograde. So, with that, I guess I will kiss you all goodbye because there are no more questions. And say thank you. Can't wait for the next one. Oh, wait, let me see. Great. Thank you, Tink. Thank you, Amy. I'm going to see Amy this weekend, so that's really nice that my IRL homies came to my virtual tarot session. Anybody have any questions? I mean, I feel like I should stay on here for the last 4 minutes about me or the work that I do or things outside of tarot that they're curious about. Astrological questions, breathwork questions, New York questions. I'm open to whatever for the last couple minutes. I can't believe I pulled the King of Wands 3 times in a Pisces season reading. But honestly, opposition is very often the way through. And so we're in a deeply watery season. And so a lot of times there is medicine in finding the fire and not drowning. Love a new moon day. I know, same. Setting all of your intentions. I hope you all are experimenting with some rituals maybe later today because Pisces season is also, I don't want to say the ruler, but Virgo and Pisces are opposite on the astrology wheel, and Virgo governs day-to-day routine, the minutia of like the to-do list, and Pisces, which is the opposite sign, often governs ritual and spirituality. And so with the new moon in Pisces, that could really not be a more potent time to experiment with whatever ritual feels good for you, especially as it relates to putting up new intentions. The Planet Parade with NYC light pollution. At first I was like, who's NYC light pollution? But now I understand. You're just going to see it with the pollution, obviously, after sunset. Yeah, the Planet Parade is very cool. I can't remember. Susan, do you know what time we can see it in the city? It is weird that apparently there's like, I don't know. I don't know if this could even be true, but there's like supposedly not that much of an astrological impact, but I'm like, certainly it's a big deal to be able to see all these planets. Certainly we will be changed just by observing them. Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Mercury, and Neptune. Yeah, that's amazing. Will appear in a line or arc from east to west. Not long after sunset, so around 6. Okay, great. 6 o'clock. I will also be outside attempting to see my beautiful planet compadres hanging out in a line. Susan, are you feeling better? Minimally? Yes, you. Close us out with a question. I knew there was a reason I was staying on here and killing time. Please. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so while you formulate the question, I will also shout out the tarot decks that I used. So today I used True Heart Intuitive Tarot and Mother Witch Oracle. And True Heart is the deck that I use most in my life. I go back and forth between that and then just the classic Rider Waite. And then Mother Witch is a new deck. Ooh, sexy, excited. A new deck to me, Oracle cards from Bats with Lashes in the UK. And so thank you for your question here. You wrote, have I already met my next partner? Is he the guy with long hair from my class? Ooh, okay. He was in my class but changed classes. I forgot his name. Okay. I love the idea that your next partner, you forgot their name. It doesn't matter. Unnecessary detail. That's precious. Okay, so I'm not sure if you were here when I was talking to, who was it? Oh yeah, Sarabi, when I was speaking to Sarabi, that the style of tarot that I practice is not ever going to be like predictive. Usually I try to tap into the energetics of what is around the situation, the problem, etc. So the question that I will pose for you to the cards is, how can you have more clarity about whether or not the person with the long hair is your next partner? How can you have more clarity about whether the person whose name you forgot is your partner? How can you have more clarity around whether this person is your next partner? How can you have more clarity? I'm just shuffling the deck right now, and tapping into your energy. Okay. And the card that came up is the Eight of Swords. And just looking at this card, it's in a lot of ways similar to, you might have missed it, but the Five of Wands. And I say that because this person in the card, there's a question of whether they are like a victim and somebody who is being tied up and somebody who cannot help themselves, or is it someone who's like a super hero badass and is training or sleeping or resting, but they have total agency over all of these swords. And what's interesting is that swords, you're the first person actually during this whole reading to pull swords. Swords are a card of mental clarity and decision making. And the Eight is a sword of infinity. And so what happens often with this card is either the person is experiencing potentially like a sense of helplessness, a sense of like, I don't know, I'm lost. Well, how do I figure this out? Uh, Overwhelm, mental overwhelm might be something else. But the medicine of this is to remember that you have all of the tools that you need to make this decision at your availability. An obsessive person if I don't get my answers. Okay. And so here's the thing. Answers aren't, I talked about this earlier, but it's like there is no one path. There is no one way to live your life, to get what you want, to move yourself forward. And so it's like, if you like this person, if you have a crush on this person, If there's a reason in your heart that you are thinking about them and thinking, oh, they might be my person, then it is your responsibility to just follow that inspiration and then use your mind to make decisions about the how as you go. You don't trust the process. Okay, what process? The process of finding a partner or the process of making a decision? Yeah, finding a partner. Which is totally fair to feel uncertain and unstable. Because the thing about love is that it is not something that can be mapped out and like put into a box. And so, especially if you, well, if you have a tendency to overthink, I won't bring astrology into it necessarily because I don't know your sun, moon, and rising. But there are individuals who have a greater tendency towards like prioritizing their logical minds, like wanting the answer, wanting to know each and every step along the journey before they take it. And we are in Pisces season now with this Pisces new moon about to go into Venus retrograde. And the only medicine is to trust. That's it. That's literally the only thing. And trust really is a decision that you make to allow whatever happens to happen with the knowing that you are going to be okay, that you can cultivate a sense of safety within yourself, that the partner will come, that the life will like amalgamize is the word, but I don't even think that is the word. Amalgamize around you without you having to like constantly be plotting and planning and only relying on your own mental faculties. This card, this person is blindfolded. They have their arms wrapped around their back, and yet they look pretty comfortable. They look like they trust in the weapons that they have tied to their hair. So the question is also like, can you be comfortable in this process and trust that when it comes time to make a decision about your partner, that you have the tools available to you to make the like quote unquote right decision. And that even if you make the wrong decision at first, you can always correct it. Trust is medicine, for sure. And there are ways to cultivate and to access trust. And some of it is just practice. You do have to practice learning how to trust often, especially if you have been burned in the past. And so I would encourage you to explore. I call it like building your trust muscles. And I want to say I have some articles about this on my Substack. So can you send messages on YouTube afterwards? I don't even know. If not, send me an Instagram message at my same name. Eliza gets into it. And if you want more context on how to build your trust muscles, but that's the name of the game right now. So I hope that was helpful. I trust that was helpful. This is the trusting and exercise and trust building for me too, because I cannot see you guys. I don't know how you're responding, the like body language cues, there's so much missing here that I would normally have in a reading. And so for me, this is also an exercise in trust. And so I thank you all for participating in this trust exercise with me. And I hope that you have a beautiful new moon in Pisces. I hope that Venus retrograde serves you well. And get ready for eclipse season, baby, because it is around the corner.